I'm Bridget Bartlett with the Builderall team. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use, customize, and configure buttons in the Cheetah website builder. To do that, we need to access the menu on the right-hand side. Under the Ads tab, we can add panels and elements. Since a button is an element, we want to look in this menu here and scroll down till you see the buttons, and we're going to click here, and you see there are lots of styles that you can choose from. You can choose any of these styles and completely customize it as you wish. So let's just go ahead and choose this button here. So we're going to left click and drag it to our panel. If you left click on the button, you'll see that you have the sub menu. You can click here to save the button and retrieve it in your Personals tab on any Cheetah website. You can click here to edit the button, and you have all of these options here. You can click here to center the button on your page. You can click here to set the action of the button. You can click here to set multiple actions of the button, and you can actually click here to duplicate the button. You can click here to hide the button and retrieve it here in the Hidden Elements tab, and you can also click here to delete the button. So let's go through all of the options to edit the style of the button. So we're going to click here to edit element, and you have the option to change the width and the height of your button here. You can also do that manually by grabbing the corner and then dragging it to the size that you want it to be. You could click here to edit the maximum width on the tablet version. You could click here to change the color background of the button. So if you want it to be a solid color, you can just click in the color box here, and then you can drag it around to select it manually. You can paste a hex code here, and then if you want to save the color that you've chosen, all you need to do is click here to save it to your panel to reuse again. You can also adjust the color of the button when you hover over it. So if you want it to be a black button with the white text when you hover, you can choose that here. You can also change the button to be a gradient color. So if you want to have one side of the button to be blue, we can add that here. And then if you want the other side to be black, we could add that here. You can also add a border to the button. So if you want to make it a wider border, you can choose that here. If you want to change the color, you can choose that here. And right now there is no border shape, but we can select that here by choosing from the drop-down menu. So we can have the dots, we can have the dashes, we can also have a solid line, and we could have a double line here. We could add rounded edges to our button. So if we want them to have a rounded edge of 50, we could just type in 50 here. You can also adjust it manually by using the up and down arrows. If you wanted to have the pointed corners, all you need to do is just go back to 0 on all of the corners here. You can change the headline of the button. So if you wanted to say download, you can just simply type in download here, and it changes the headline here, but you'll see the headline is in blue and we actually can't see it. So if we change this here to white, we'll be able to see the headline. And you can adjust this color to any of your branded colors by dragging this around, or you can paste in the hex code. And again, you can save that for later use. If you want to adjust the font of the headline of the button, you can choose from the drop-down menu here. You could also change the size of the font on the desktop here, and also the mobile view here. You could make the headline bold, italicized. You can align it on the left, center, right, or you can justify. You can also add a text decoration. So if you want to add a line over it, through it, or under it, you can choose that here. You can add an icon to your button. So you can choose from any of these options here. So if you wanted to add an arrow pointing to the right, you could just choose that here and click select. And then now you have that arrow there. You can also choose to align the arrow to the left or the right of the headline. You can create a subheadline. So if you wanted to say click here, you could type that in there. You could also change the font of the subheadline here. And you could change the desktop size and the mobile size here. Again, you could change the color to any color that you want. So you could do that here. You could also make this bold, italicize, align it to the left, center, right, or justified, and you could also add a text decoration as well. You could add a shadow to your button. So you could move the shadow to offset horizontally here. You can move it to offset vertically here. You could also adjust the blur radius by moving this left and right, and the same with the spread radius here. You could also change the color of the shadow. So if you want it to be a little bit darker here, you could choose that option. And then if you want it to be a little bit more transparent, you could adjust the opacity here. If you want the shadow to be inside the button, you could click here to have the inner shadow. And you could also unclick here. And if you decide to not have the shadow at all, you could just click here to clean it. So it resets the settings here for the shadow. You could add an animation to this button. So if you wanted to choose any of the effects here for the button, you could choose that. And let's just go ahead and choose Flash for the example. And you see what that looks like here. If you want to see it again, you just click there and it flashes. You can choose when you want the animation to take effect. So if you want it to be 5 seconds after they're on the website viewing it, you could choose that option here. You could choose to make it flash when it's visible. You can choose to make it flash when they click on the button or when they hover over the button. You can make it flash slow, slower, fast, or faster. And you could also make it continuously flash by clicking this button here. You could add a tag to this button here. And you can also adjust the layering of this button here. So if you wanted to move the button to this panel here and it was hidden under the panel, you could just click top or low until you got the button exactly how you want it to be. And then if you wanted to save this button to the Personals tab, you could just name it here and then click Save as Personal Element and then retrieve it here on any Cheetah website. Let's go ahead and left click on the button again, and you'll see that we have the option to set the link. So let's go ahead and click here. And we can actually create an action for this button. So we can paste a website URL here, and we can choose to have it open in the same tab, a new tab, or open in a parent tab if we're using a site that's inside iframes. You could also click here for some more advanced options. You can click here to set the button to open a page on your website. So if I wanted to open on the home page, I could select this here. I could also choose whether to have this open in the same tab, a new tab, or a parent tab, and any of these advanced options here. I can set this to a Builderall auto tag. I can also set this button to a pop-up that I've created, and then as soon as my website visitor clicks on the button, a pop-up will appear. I can set this to an anchor so I can send them to another spot on my website. I can add a video URL, and as soon as they click the button, a video will pop up for them to view. I can add a file for them to download here. I can connect this button to a product in my super checkout. I can have them email me using this button. I can also have them call me using this button, and also text and send a WhatsApp message. If I had any membership pages on this website, I could have them register inside the membership area by clicking that button. I could also add tags to this button. I could also add a rotation banner if I had one created, and I could also set this to send browser notifications. We also have the ability to create multiple actions. So if you click here, you can click the plus sign, and you can actually set this to basically be like a rotator. So if I wanted sometimes for them to click the button and go to the boxes page, I could do that here. If I wanted to set another action and then sometimes send them to the home page, I could do that here. And then it will rotate and be different each page. Let's go ahead and go to the mobile view. And if you left click in the button and click Edit Element, you'll see that you have these options here. If you want your button to have more space on the right or left, you can simply adjust the lateral spacing here. You could also add space at the top and at the bottom here. If you want to adjust the headline or the sub-headline on the mobile view, all you need to do is click here, and then you can adjust the size here. And then for the sub-headline, You can adjust the size of the font here. Let's go back to the desktop view. So in this video, I showed you how to use, customize, and configure buttons in the Cheetah website builder. Again, my name is Bridget Bartlett. Now, let's go build it with Builderall.